السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كلامه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, we go through difficult circumstances, adversity, for one of two reasons. One is that this adversity, this difficulty has come upon us because of our sins. And Allah Azza wa Jal speaks to that in the Quran, وَلَنُذِيقَنَّهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. We give them a sample of their misdeeds, a punishment, a sample, so they come back to us. And another reason, a second reason for adversity and difficulty is that it is a test from Allah Azza wa Jal, a trial. Now, when it comes to prophets, Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam, the first option is out the door, out the window. Why? Because prophets do not commit sins. Prophets are sinless, they are ma'soom. Then what is it when prophets go through difficulties? It is a test. Not a simple test, but it is also mixed with a flavor of training and upbringing. But to keep the topic simple, for them it is a test. And Allah Azza wa Jal speaks of that test. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنْ. When Ibrahim, his Lord, tested him, فَأَتَمَّهُنْ, Ibrahim alayhi salam completed all the tests. Not just one, kalimat, many different tests. Mufassirin have written up to 30 different tests that Ibrahim alayhi salam was put through. Today we will speak of 3 major tests. First is that Ibrahim alayhi salam is born in an environment where there is nothing but shirk and kufr all around him. Not a single person is on tawheed except for Ibrahim alayhi salam. One is that your father is religious, your grandfather is religious, so you have an environment, you have a head start, and hopefully that is helping you be also a religious person. But imagine that you open your eyes in a household that is engulfed in shirk. Your father, Adhar, Ibrahim alayhi salam's father, was not only a mushrik, he was a carver of idols, carved idols, and he would sell them. Ibrahim alayhi salam preaches to his father, Ya abati, oh my dear father, oh my beloved father, Lima ta'budu, why do you worship? Ma la yasma'u wa la yubsiru wa la yughni anka shay'a. Why do you worship something that cannot hear you, that cannot see you, and that cannot benefit you in the least? Ya abati, oh my dear father, lima ta'budu shaitan, why do you worship shaitan? It is interesting to note that when addressing his father, Ibrahim alayhi salam uses the utmost respect, the title that gives off the utmost respect. But the message is clear. He does not dilly-dally, flip-flop, beat around the bush. The message is clear. Oh my beloved father, I see you. Inni araka wa qawmaka fi dhalalim. I see you and your whole community in clear misguidance. There's no compromise on the message. Respect is there, but no compromise on the message of Tawheed. That's one level, family, preaching to your family. And then Ibrahim alayhi salam preaches to his larger community, the society, the people around him, his neighbors, you can say the people of the town. Ibrahim alayhi salam is preaching to them the same message of Tawheed. This is an area that is steeped in idolatry, which is known today as Iraq. And when his people don't seem to understand what he is saying, Ibrahim alayhi salam gives them a practical demonstration of what Tawheed is and who is Allah and how helpless the idols are. What does he do? When his people go off on a day of festivity out of town, Ibrahim alayhi salam فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَهُمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ يَرْجِعُونَ. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he goes into the temple that houses the idols and he smashes all of them into bits and pieces except one. And he hangs the axe on this big idol. And his people, they come back and they go to the temple and they see that their idols have been smashed to pieces except for that one big idol. They say, who has done this? Man fa'ala hadha bi alihatina. One of them says, Inna sami'na fatan yadhkuruhum yuqalu lahu Ibrahim. There is a person named Ibrahim. He's always talking about our idols, that they cannot do anything, they can't do anything. Maybe it's him, maybe it's him. Bring him, bring him. They bring him and they say, A'anta falta hadha bi alihatina. Oh Ibrahim, did you do this? Did you do this with our idols? Ibrahim alayhi salam replies, Bal fa'alahu kabiruhum. The big one has done it. This big one. Which one? The one that was left intact. Fas'aluhum in kanu yantikun. Ask them if they can only speak. This is to help them understand how helpless the idols are. And this is the second level when he's preaching to the society. First level was family. Second, society. Third, government. Now Ibrahim alayhi salam confronts the king, King Nimrod in English, known as one of the more powerful kings of that time. And Ibrahim alayhi salam is trying to explain to him who Allah is. Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi rabbihi an atahu Allahul mulk. Have you not seen that person? Allah is asking, have you not seen that person, Namrud, who is arguing with Ibrahim about his Lord? Why? An atahullah, because Allah had given him kingdom. What does that mean? Because Allah had given him kingdom. Kingdom got to his head. Sometimes money gets to your head and you don't act normal. Sometimes fame, the hype, gets to your head and you don't act normal. There is a fault in your intelligence, your way of thinking, your logic is now somehow mixed up. Why? Because it got to your head. Authority, kingship, power got to his head. So now Namrud says, Ana uhyi wa umid. When Ibrahim says, my Allah is the one who gives life and death, what does Namrud say? Ana uhyi wa umid. I give life and death. He calls two people. One person that was sentenced to death. One prisoner that was sentenced to death. Namrud calls him and says, okay, you are free to go. And said, look, I gave him life. Was this giving life? No, because the person was alive from before. That's not giving life. And then one person who was just in prison was not sentenced to death, an innocent man. Namrud said to his executioner, kill him, off with his head. And the executioner kills him and said, look, I gave life and I gave death. This was not giving death either. That was not giving life. This was not, because Namrud had to rely on the executioner. The executioner had to rely on his sword and the sharpness of his sword. So this was not giving death either. But Ibrahim alayhi salam decided not to argue with fools. He gave him another proof and said, my Lord, ya'ti bishamsi min al-mashriq, brings the sun from the east. Fa'ti biha min al-maghrib, you, Namrud, bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ, he was left speechless, humiliated, embarrassed. Three levels: family, society, and government. They all agreed when Ibrahim alayhi salam would not budge from his message. They all agreed and said, حَرِّقُوهُ, burn him, وَانْصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ, and help your gods. Again, this is faulty logic. Why? Because a God is supposed to help you. God is supposed to help you, not help your gods. What did they say? حَرِّقُوهُ, burn Ibrahim, and وَانْصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ, and help your gods. So the fire was ignited. Now, as I said, there were many tests, but this would be considered one of the major tests that Ibrahim alayhi salam was being put through. About to be thrown into the fire, Angel Jibreel alayhi salam comes on his own accord and says, I am here to help you. Anything I can do to help you. Ibrahim alayhi salam, the words of the hadith are, Amma anta fala. Any help from you? No. Ibrahim alayhi salam rejected the help of the angel. Why? Because angel is also a makhluk, a creation. He's relying on who? Allah. That Allah, He knows my condition. And if Allah wants me to burn, if Allah wants me to die, I am more than happy to comply. If Allah wants me to live, I will live. This is considered total submission. When Ibrahim alayhi salam reached that level, that stage, then Allah intervened directly, ordered the fire. Qulna ya naru kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Oh fire, become cool and pleasant on Ibrahim. Cool, not too cold, because it can get too cold, right? So the words are bardan wa salam. Cool and pleasant, not too cold. Cold, but pleasant. On Ibrahim, not on the ropes. That's why the ropes. And Ibrahim alayhi salam was stripped naked before he was thrown into the fire. That is why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Awwalu man yuksa yawm al-qiyamah." The first person that will be given clothes to wear on the day of judgment will be Ibrahim alayhi salam. It does not mention the reason why. The hadith does not mention the reason why, but shurrah, those who explain the hadith, they said most probably the reason why everyone will be naked, bare naked. Ji'tumuna furada kama khalaqnakum. Allah says, you will come to us the way we created you. But Ibrahim alayhi salam, because clothes were snatched from his body, as a token of respect and honor, he will be given the clothes to wear before everyone else. And then moving on, Ibrahim alayhi salam leaves his people, is instructed to go where? Inni muhajirun ila rabbi. I am migrating towards my Lord. This place, Mesopotamia, the place known today as Iraq, is beyond repair. As you would call beyond repair. People are so steeped in idolatry, there needs to be a fresh start. What do you call it? Fresh start. Where there is no person, no human being, no city or town or dwelling or village, just brand new, fresh start. And that fresh start is where? Makkah. Have you seen the topography? Have you seen Makkah? I can think of 1,000 places that are far more beautiful than Makkah when it comes to scenic beauty. But this jagged, rugged, mountainous desert, and on top of that there's no water. Allah chose that place and said, let us make a fresh start and build a civilization on Tawheed, on the spirit of Ibrahim, far from the centers of shirk. But Ibrahim alayhi salam knew that one day the shirk that is happening in Mesopotamia that can come to Jaziratul Arab. That is why in his dua, what does Ibrahim alayhi salam say? Wajnubni wa baniya an na'bud al-asnam. He knew the threat. He knew that one day it could happen. In one of his duas, and the duas of Ibrahim alayhi salam are plenty in the Quran. He says, save me and my progeny from idolatry. Ibrahim alayhi salam had seen idolatry firsthand, and eventually it did happen. Idolatry did happen. Idols did come to Makkah, and idols were housed in the Kaaba. And where did those idols come from? Mesopotamia. وَجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامَ. So this is another test. What? Being told, instructed to leave your family in this in this mountainous desert. Quran describes it, Inni askantu biwadin, Inni askantu min dhurriyati biwadin ghayri dhi dhar'in, without a single blade of grass. There is no possibility of anything surviving. Now, it was definitely a test for Lady Hajar alayhi salam, but it was a test for Ibrahim alayhi salam as well. Why? Because no husband loves their wife more than a prophet. Any other husband, his love for his wife is mixed with lust, infatuation, and self-interest. But the love that a prophet as a husband has for his wife is pure. It's not that Ibrahim alayhi salam did not have love for his wife Hajar, so he decided to abandon her. No, he loved her immensely, but it was the order of Allah Azza wa Jal. This again is a test from Allah. And then a decade or so later, Ibrahim alayhi salam is now being instructed to sacrifice his son. And this is the mother of all tests. This is a huge test. But what happens? فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا, both Ibrahim and Ismail alayhim salam submit. Aslama, they both submit to the test. وَطَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينَ, and Ibrahim alayhi salam puts Ismail on the ground, forehead down. Jabeen, those who understand posh Urdu, what is Jabeen? What is Jabeen? Forehead. Why? وَطَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينَ, and Ibrahim alayhi salam lays Ismail forehead on the ground. In other words, face on the ground. Why? Why? Because if the face was turning towards Ibrahim, they would make eye contact. The love, the natural human instinct, the fatherly love that any father would have for his son might waver, might cause Ibrahim to not carry out the order of Allah. It might cause a tremble in the hand of Ibrahim alayhi salam. It might cause the knife to fall. It might, who knows. So Ibrahim alayhi salam decided to put his son face down, and the knife is on the back of the neck. And angels call out, because it's not just a father sacrificing a son. We all have biological sons. That's not what's happening here. What else is happening? This is nubuwah. If something happens to Ismail, nubuwah, prophethood will finish from Bani Ismail. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would not be born. What would happen? This is huge. This is prophethood continuing. This is the legacy of a prophet, that prophethood continues in their progeny. Angels call out, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Oh Allah, what is happening? And then Ibrahim alayhi salam replies, La ilaha illallah. And then Ismail alayhi salam replies, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. And there you have your takbir. It's a conversation between the angels and Ibrahim and Ismail. When we say the takbir, we should feel the spirit of sacrifice, the spirit of submission, the spirit of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is what this ummah has been imbued with. This is the hallmark of this ummah. 10 days is a representation of being from the millah of Ibrahim alayhi salam. What I've just told you is a volume of information in one sentence. Ramadan is a representation of being from the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and these 10 days is a representation of being from the millah. وَاتَّبِعُوا millata Ibrahim is a representation of being from the civilization of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So that sacrifice we do in all around the world. The Hujjaj who are donning the 2 pieces of white ihram, right? There's almost, you can say there's no similarity between the Hujjaj, the 3-4 million Hujjaj and us. But there is one similarity. There is one common denominator here, and that is the spirit of Ibrahim, the spirit of sacrifice. When we sacrifice that lamb, or that goat. What are you saying? When you sacrifice that goat or lamb, you are saying, oh Allah, if you had instructed me to sacrifice my son in place of this goat, I would have done so. That is the meaning of sacrifice. That is the meaning. This is total submission to Allah. Love for Allah leads to total submission. Like Ibrahim alayhi salam condition was, if Allah wants me to burn, I will burn. If Allah wants me to live, I will live. Whatever Allah wants from me. Whatever Allah wants from me. So love leads to total submission, and total submission leads to the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. May Allah accept our sacrifices. May Allah give us the spirit of Ibrahim and the spirit of sacrifice and submission in these days. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Please pray your sunnah.